One. And welcome to Your Yes is Needed podcast. Tonight, I'm having one of my own limitless athletes, BJ. He's actually the newest member of the limitless team, powerlifting team. And within the last few months, he's made drastic changes. Now, I'm going to give you some background of how I met BJ, and then we'll go from there. So when I first met BJ, he started just coming in, just checking it out, and I had observed him squatting. And so I put him on the bar right away, and I wanted to see. I could tell a lot about someone by the way they squat. It's just there's messages in there. And so with him squatting, like I knew everything I needed to know right away. And so but I didn't want to come too forward. And so I waited a bit. And so, but BJ, before I go even further, can you share why you started coming to camp in the first place? Like you were already invited by someone you knew, but what was your first step, your first reasoning for why you decided to step? Because it wasn't about the team, it wasn't about the powerlifting team.
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know about the team. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't really know too much about it. I wasn't super interested in powerlifting, to be honest. And funny enough, I was asked to powerlift in high school, and I had no interest. Like I just had no interest. Like lifting was never something that I enjoyed. It was just an ends to a mean. I lifted because I was a football player, and you had to be strong to be a good football player. So I was never really interested in powerlifting. But I was invited to Camp Fitzgerald by my partner Anna, and she had invited me a few times. She would tell me like, "Oh, you need to meet Coach. Coach is so cool." Blah blah blah. And I was just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And just kind of putting it off. And then I had like a doctor's appointment. I had a doctor's appointment in May, and I went to the doctors, and she was like, this like things aren't going well for you, essentially. I was way overweight. My blood pressure was high, and I'm young, I'm 23. So hearing these things as a 23-year-old is like really scary, because it's not so much it's not so much that, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna die, even though it is kind of like that. But I was afraid that I was gonna have all these issues so early, and I'm gonna drastically shorten my life, or have to live with insulin, or have to deal with high blood pressure like my whole life. Mind you, this already ran in my family. My grandmother died because she had kidney failure, because she had high blood pressure her entire life, like gone untreated. My dad has high blood pressure. So it's just like, these are things that already ran in my family, and I saw the outcome. So when I went to this doctor's appointment that day, my partner had asked me to come to Camp Fitzgerald again. And I even tried putting it off that time as well. I was like, I'm busy. I have work. I can't make it. I have a meeting, which I did. I had a meeting, I think at 6:30. So, but she was like, just come for X amount of time. It's right down the street. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like I needed to work out. I need to start working out. I need to start getting in better shape. So I was like, fine, I'll go. And then I ended up at Camp Fitzgerald for the first time. So that's basically how I started.
Yeah, so I don't think you knew how much I weighed, or did you know? Like I was almost at 300 pounds at one point.
No, I didn't. So I didn't know.
Yeah, and I felt led to show you my before picture, and so so when I first met BJ, I did not know he was 23. In fact, I think I just learned that like last month, and
Yeah.
so when he told me his age, I was like, "Wait, how old are you?" So um when he first came, I wanted to put him on the squat because I wanted to see where he was at. I also knew, and I shared this with you, I also knew that he wanted to just get right to it. Like there you didn't want a process. You just wanted to go right to it, get to the point, and then see where it went. And then I believe by your third visit, I had started asking you questions. I started asking like, "Hey, did you have an injury? Did you ever play like a sport and did you have like a really bad injury?" And you said yes. I said, okay. And then you shared with me that you had like a really bad knee injury that needed surgery. Then I asked you, are you the youngest? And you said, I think you said you're the youngest.
I'm
Um,
the third youngest, so
you're the
four
third.
total. Yeah.
And then I started like asking you questions to see where it was leading to. So you started becoming more opening up. And then that's when I showed you like my before and after picture. And I said, like, I can help you, but I'm not going to feed your ego because you're just going to be a yo-yo in life.
We
And
had a huge conversation. I think it was either my first or second week there, and
mhm,
it was significant for me because it was also my first time at camp by myself. If you remember, it was just me and you.
it was just me and you,
I
and I
had
found the opportunity to have this conversation with you. And I said, like, I can help you. But I won't feed the thing that you want me to feed. So, but I can get you there. But if you're gonna find it, if you want me to feed the thing that's gonna feed you, you will just be one big yo-yo. There's plenty of people out there that will feed it, but I just can't do it because you're just gonna go back to your old ways.
what stuck with me was when you had talked about your brother, and you were like, you remind me of my brother, and you talked about how that's when you first used the terminology yo-yo, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I think that stuck out to me because it's like, okay, so I'm not alone. Other people deal with this stuff. You know what I mean? It's uh, I grew up like in my family, my sister, who's in med school now and is a dietitian, like she had struggled with her weight in the past, and like she was able to get a hold of it, figure out what worked with her, and kept doing it, and she got really good at it. And I was like, okay, my turn. But it never stuck. I never found, and I'm sure we're gonna get into this conversation later, but about convenience. But I never found what could help me, what would help me stick. What would stick for me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hated running. I still hate running. I do it now because coach tells me to. I don't run, but I'm walking to
You
get my car.
don't run.
I don't run, but I walk. I walk a lot. Um, but I hated like running. I hated going to gyms with, and this was a defining factor for me. I hated going to gyms without free weights. So I hated like machines. I hated all that stuff. And so, I would never find a gym that I liked and stick with it. I hate working out, or I hated working out around people. So it was just a lot of almost like the perfect storm with Camp Fitzgerald, like being able to come into a place where it's like everyone's really supportive, everyone's really helpful, everyone's really nice, and then also being able to work and fail around people that are going to support you and lift you up, opposed to failing around people who are just like, what is this guy doing trying to do this? Like, he don't know what he's doing, blah blah blah. So
Right. So the environment that I created was it's to me it's a very important community. Um as you have observed, like I don't favor no one, and I'm gonna call you out. And I'm gonna call you out not because I'm degrading you. I'm gonna call you out because I want you better. I'm also gonna praise you for doing great, but I'm also not going to feed the thing that's gonna keep you stuck. And so with some and like and you have observed and the people that have been coming to camp know that the intention is to get you better. And so with your observing and with you seeing and you see the behind the scenes, you see that it's just a 900 square feet basement turned into a gym. And then we take the work that we do there, and then you were able to witness your first powerlifting meets. Like we train here in this little basement, and then we take it to the platform. And I think that was intriguing to you.
coach has a weird, okay, so everything coach said is true, but coach is underselling it. She didn't just take me to my first powerlifting meet. She took me to the state championship. I'm surrounded by a bunch of freaks who are lifting obscene amounts of weight. And I'm going in the funny, I never told coach this. I walk into the state championship. Obviously, I'm there to support my partner. I'm there to support the team. I'm not even officially on the team yet, but I walk into this state championship and I'm like, okay, I'm almost comparing myself. I'm sizing myself up. Like if I were to compete today, where would I be at? And that was like one of the most disheartening days of my life. I'm telling you right now, there were people a quarter of my size lifting my maxes plus. And I'm going into this environment where I'm like, okay, at that moment, I knew for a fact this was either going to make or break whatever powerlifting career I could possibly have. Either this was going to dishearten me to the point where I'm like, yo, forget it, I got to give up, or it's going to motivate me to be like, I can do this. And I think to this point, I think we're 2 months after this competition at this point. To this point, it has motivated me. Watching someone pick up 700 pounds motivated me. Watching someone squat 700 pounds motivated me. And it put me into the mindset of not only your yes is needed, but why not me? You know? And God, having to utilize the talents that God has given me and being like, okay, I can do this. There's no reason why I should doubt myself and not being able to do this. Is it easy? No. Am I always making forward progress? Am I always taking step forwards? Not even close. But seeing that, put it in my head that I could do it.
Right. And so I didn't even ask you to be part of the team at that time. And so I think someone had slipped the comments like, "Is BJ part of the team?" I was like, "No." And so and so, but if anyone that doesn't know, it's not an open enrollment. Like everyone that's on the team is handpicked because I go to my place of my study and I really, really listen to who's supposed to be on the team. And so I think it was that same week. I said, BJ, you should know by now, if you don't know, is that whatever I've like when I'm told to do something, I do it. And your name came up in my morning sanctuary meditation. And would you like to be part of the team? And I don't know what your reaction was, but you're like, you gave me a heart emoji right away, like, yes. And so since then, like you've been committed and has excelled beyond what I've never imagined seeing someone transform in such a short period of time. And when you told me that, I didn't even know that you were part of that you were invited to the powerlifting team in high school until now. And so like you told me like it was just about football. That like that's all I knew about you. Like I knew nothing else. Um and so but I stressed to you, I said, BJ, if you listen to me, I will help you, but I'm not going to feed your ego. You're like, yes, coach. Yes, coach. Yes. So I'm like,
So,
okay, let's go then.
coach is leaving out a few key things here. Well, there's two things I want to bring up. The first was the goals. So when I first that same conversation we had about being a yo-yo, coach told me to set up tangible goals that I should have for myself.
Yes.
And the first was 5 weeks. So I had a follow-up appointment with my doctor in 5 weeks. And that was my first goal. I said, I want 5 weeks from now, I want to see where I'm at. Coach had
Yes.
challenged me to go to my birthday. My birthday is in three weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
My birthday is 3 weeks from now. So this was over 3 months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So that 5 weeks passes and I lose 31 pounds in 5 weeks. My blood pressure goes back down to like normal. Best has been like 120 over 60 or 120 over.
And your doctor had given you a prescription to help you lose weight.
Yeah, my doctor had given me a prescription for some medicine that was supposed to help curb my appetite and help me lose weight. And luckily, and I think this is like a God thing, the prescription was never filled by my insurance. So the insurance never okayed the prescription, so I never took it. But in my doctor's mind, I was taking it. So when I came in, she was like, "Wow, this medicine's working really well. Like that, if that 31 pounds that I lost is like the top percentile of the drug working." And I was like, I haven't even taken it. And she was surprised. So that was like step one. And the second thing I want to mention is coach didn't just ask me to be on the team. Coach was poking me, and I feel like she was testing me because she asked me, would you be interested in participating in a competition before the end of the year? And I was like, yeah,
Yes.
I would love to. And that was kind of how it started. And that's when I kind of got the inkling, oh, she might ask me to be on the team. It wasn't something that I was counting on. I won't say that it's something that like, oh, I expect her to ask me, because there were a few times where my partner had asked me or had thought that I was joining the team, because coach started asking me to work out on Tuesdays at the Phoenix, which is the gym we go to every week. Bring a buddy. We bring buddies on Tuesdays. She'd asked me to join them at the Phoenix, and I honestly think it was just because I was throwing around a lot of weight at the time. She didn't
Right.
the
So
basement.
before we started Buddy Day, Tuesdays was specifically only for Team Limitless because there was just so much weight, and I didn't have that much weight, and plus, like when we were deadlifting, we would literally shake the whole building. So I and I said, "Hey, would you like to join us on Tuesdays? Because like so then you can just throw around weight and go as heavy as you want for the deadlifts there." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll go." I was like, "All right, cool." So then his commitment was intriguing, and so, but I remember his ultimate goal was to get back his health. It was never about weightlifting, and I think the reason why you're so successful in the very short minute period of time because it was never about weightlifting. It was about getting back healthy, and chasing the health got you better at lifting heavier.
Which is funny because this is not, and coach also told me not to relive glory days. This is the strongest I've ever been. There's no glory days to relive because I was never as strong as I am now. And I was never not only as strong, but like as healthy as I am now. So there's no chasing glory days anymore because now I've just shattered everything I was able to do before. But yeah, it's been a very interesting journey with coach, and I hope she knows how much I appreciate her. But there was a moment, and this was before I joined the team, I think. I was leaving the gym, and this is another pivotal moment for me. I was leaving the gym, and I was going to deadlift the next day. So it was Monday. I was leaving the gym Tuesday. I'm walking out the door, and I'm like, Coach, I'm going to lift 400 pounds tomorrow. I'm going to deadlift 400 pounds tomorrow. And everyone just kind of it was me, Coach, Jojo, and Fuji in the gym. Everyone just kind of laughs, chuckles a little bit, and then I leave. And then the next day, Coach she presses me. Hear me out. Coach presses me a little bit. And she's like, why'd you say that yesterday? And I'm over here thinking I'm in trouble. I was like, if I'm honest, I don't have nothing to fear. So she's like, why'd you say that yesterday? I was just like, I don't know. I just felt good. I just felt like I could do it. Um, and so that day, I think that day I deadlifted 455.
Hmm.
Um, and it was
And
just,
there's a reason for it. It's because I want to check your intentions. Like,
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
a big believer that if you lift with ego, it will last, but it won't last that long.
Mm-hmm.
But if you lift with intention, you will always win. So I asked him, I was like, why do you want to lift for 100? He goes, because I think I can do it. I go, okay. And so, and I think your max was 385 at that time,
365.
365, and he did 455 as his new max. I wanted to check his intentions. Like I'm a big believer. He knows, like today, when he wanted to bench 375 for five. And the first, like, because BJ's so open, I can dive right in. Like, and he knows that, he knows that about me. Like, the reason why I check is I will protect you from not injuring yourself in the future, or not getting into things that you're not supposed to by opening your ego so much. And so if your intentions are pure, you're always going to chase, it's always going to be like a pure satisfaction versus like a almost a detriment to your mental health when you're always feeding your ego and feeling defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And so and you tasted that one day, and I text you the next day and I said, I almost allowed you to feed your ego one time, I saw your face expression just change completely, and it bothered you all the way to the next morning. And I
It
had
did.
to hurry up and text you the next day, and I had to remind you, like, remember, you couldn't even do this 3 weeks ago, and now you're crushing this and this and this. And it was a reminder to go back to your intentions. And ever since then, you never went back there again.
It was my first test week. So
Mhm.
for reference, we work in 5 week training cycles. 3 week build up, 1 week test. Week five is decompress, I guess. Rest, as coach tells me to
Deload.
rest, deload. And it was my first test week. And the day before, so you do test day back to back to back. My first day was deadlift, and that day I hit a 550 deadlift. I'm feeling on top of the world walking into the gym, and coach is right. My ego's on 9. because at this point I feel like I'm Iron Man. And then I hop on the bench, and I'm doing. And mind you, bench is my weakest lift, so I'm like, I'm gonna hit 300 today, and I get under. I do 250, I do 275, and coach says go to 285, I think, or 290.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, nah, let's just make it an even 300. And I couldn't push 300 off my chest. I just couldn't do it. And I tried multiple times. And that was a moment like to be on such a high peak and then to kind of crash down was a learning experience for me because I realized that it's not just about the numbers, which is something that you preach very, very all the time. It's not just about the numbers. But at the same time, and I do want to mention this too, coach is not a dictator. Is going to coach is going to work with you. And that's why I think this is such a successful group of people and a successful team that we have, because there are moments, and coach is able to discern this very well. There are moments where coach is going to let you almost indulge in your confidence, not your ego, but your confidence, your readiness, your how you really feel. She's gonna let you indulge. There are times where coaches let me indulge and not push myself, but almost realize what I have in my head. And there are times where she's let me do that, and that's why it works for me because I need those experiences in my head. If I'm able to do it once, I can do it 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
There've been times like that, but that day it was really an ego lift, and I wasn't able to hit it. And coach had to check me in a good way. And she's like, you need to realize, like you said, you weren't able to do this 2 weeks ago. You weren't able to do this 3 weeks ago. And it's always been a process.
And so I wanted to go and share, like, when we had this discussion. I told you that I had gained 100 pounds when I got out of the Navy because I hit depression really, really hard. I was in like a very everybody mood. And that took me about 7 years. Well, gradually I had gained the weight, but then I had kept the weight on for 7 years. I was close to 300. I could barely walk a half mile. Going up and down the stairs was exhausting. I um I was always in pain. And so I had asked you, like you said during COVID, you also went through a very similar experience. Can you share that?
Yeah. So during COVID, so what had happened? I think I had a doctor's appointment in May of 2020. So I had a checkup in May, not May of 2020, it was May of 2019. And the next time I had a checkup was this year. So basically 2 years passed. May 2021, and then May 2022, I had another checkup. Um, and in that checkup, my doctor was like, "You've gained 100 pounds since the last time I seen you." And I was almost in disbelief because it didn't feel like I gained 100 pounds, but that's what the numbers said, and you can't really refute that. And it's actually funny because I was having a conversation with Jojo last week, and he asked me how much I weighed. And at that point, when I went to the doctors in May, I was weighed 450. I weighed a lot. And it's interesting because, and I had this conversation with you, like we see the shows on TV. It's like My 500 Pound Life. Like that's basically where I was at, right? But I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way. I convinced myself I didn't look that way. Um, and it was almost to my detriment, right? Because I wasn't going to make a change because it didn't feel like I weighed almost 500 pounds. But as time has gone, and guys, I don't weigh 450 anymore. I'm actually under 400 now, so thumbs up. Um, but yeah, even I mean, it felt good because Jojo had told me, he was like, you never looked like you were 450. You like you carried it well, and I was like, hey, as far as compliments go, that's good. But I think there are always things that play in your favor. Like I'm a little bit taller, I'm like 6'1" almost, and I got tree trunks for legs, so that does help. But
And so when you had gained 100 pounds over COVID, and then you hit um a bad pit of depression, and then one of the things that you said that you shared that um you were telling me, you're like, you watch those shows, you're like, that's not me, and then you were like, but that is me. And so what was your discovery when you started making, like, one thing I tell folks all the time, I was like, the reason why like BJ listens to me, and the reason why he does everything, because BJ's at the part where he's tired of his own shit. I know. I know that because when I was tired of mine, I was bam bam. Like I followed so many instructions to the key, and it was just working. And so yours was just like bam 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 because you were at that point. You're like, this ain't it. Like whatever I was doing, that's not it. And you made it a discovery, which I was like, damn, that's good. And can you please share that discovery when you said, like, I didn't realize what I was addicted to?
Yeah, so I mean, just to touch upon everything, like the depression, like it wasn't just due to COVID. Like I've been dealing with depression basically my whole life. So it manifests itself in so many different ways. And like even now, I'm going through. I can tell when it's coming back. Like I had a conversation with the team earlier today, where I sent this long message, just being like, I'm out of it. I'm really out of it right now, but I'm trying my best, and I want to be able to lean on you guys, and I want you guys to be able to lean on me too. Because if we're not doing that, then what's the point of all this? Um, but yeah, I've dealt with depression basically my whole life. And yeah, it's a struggle, but at the end of the day, going to iron therapy, and it's so funny that that's the name of the gym. Iron therapy is literally, I haven't felt right in a couple of weeks, but every time I leave the gym for some reason, I feel a little bit better. Even if things are not going my way. But to finish, just to wrap it up, but what I realized what I was addicted to was not so much like some people, when you get to people that are bigger, some people are addicted to alcohol, some people are addicted to food, some people are addicted to soda, sugary drinks, salt, all that stuff. All those things can be addicting. I was not addicted to any of that stuff, and that was easy to discern because when I did start this lifestyle change, I cut out everything and I was fine. I was basically eating chicken and broccoli every day for 3 months, and I had no problem with it. I had no problem with it because I wasn't addicted to food. I wasn't addicted to sugar, candy. I was addicted to convenience. I was addicted to the convenience of being able to have food readily available to you in 3 to 5 minutes, anytime, anywhere. And that food, most of the time, is not good for you. And that's the issue. That convenience was what was really killing me. Um, it's really in my life, I've always prioritized everything else over myself. School, my family, my friends, my relationships, everything was more important than me. And just one way that I could, especially school, especially my career, I'm 23. And just for a little background, and people that watch this may not know anything about me. You can see that's my degree right up here, a little, but I'm the director of civic engagement for the District 4 City Councilor. So like things like my job at this time, I was prioritizing that way more than myself. I would work 8 to 9, and I would just put that as a priority. Where now I look at myself as a priority. Like I need to get to the gym. That's something that I need to do for me. But back to the convenience thing, I was addicted to convenience. I was addicted to getting things easily. And now with this, once you change up your lifestyle, once you realize what you're doing, you can make the healthier options convenient. Food prepping makes my life convenient. Now it's easier for me to cook a meal than it is for me to go out and buy food. And that, I think that's made all the difference.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, holy smokes, that is like mind blowing to me because people don't really get that deep. Like the first thing people say is like, well, I don't have time. Like they're able to identify like very surface things, but it's very hardly like someone gets to dive deep and say like I know what my problem it's this that's causing these things to float and surface in my life because I've heard so many times like, oh, if I was rich I would get my own, and I'm like, not really, because it's your choices still. And even as busy as you are and as busy as I am, it's still the choices that we decide to make. But convenience is what most people are addicted to but cannot identify. And I was like, oh, that is mind blowing. And so you have made such a good impact. Like, I don't know why these guys always want to like tell me like, it- I'm like, I'm grateful like for the compliments, but it's really them that does like all the work, because like I said, if they don't show up, there's no point of what I do. And so like even like allowing me to pour into you, that is a privilege. That is like like it's not, you don't, it's a choice to listen to me. It's a choice to move out and trust me. It's a choice, and it's, I don't take it lightly. So I'm very, half the things maybe you guys don't understand, but it's to really protect you guys and to push you to become better people. And as much as like I love seeing you guys like reach like goals that you never thought was possible, the fact that you still keep your health a priority and then everything else is second is it's I don't even know what word I'm looking for, but it's good for you because you're so young. Like I right now I'm in this like this thought process, like what I want to do next as far as my like for me, and I'm like I have the rest of my life. And so with you guys, a reason why I love that you were able to share so much, because you're able to identify with like everything that's happening in your life and every good thing that's happening in your life, you still be able to identify something that's holding you back because you do have the rest of your life. Can you just share with the young men like how it's important to open up and really reach out to someone so that you don't hold it in so it's not so much heavier?
Yeah, so and it's really it's quite the conundrum, to be honest. When it comes to like food and when it comes to mental health, like for myself, I can really only speak for myself, but when it came to those things, it was like I found myself eating poorly because I didn't care whether I lived or died. And that was just an easy way to get to a goal that like maybe, and I guess trigger warning for those people that deal with like mental health and suicide as well, but like it it was just a means to an end, honestly. And when it comes to, coach has been, like I said, a godsend for that reason, because I don't have to hold on to this stuff anymore. Like I don't have to hold on to those negative emotions. I don't have to hold on to those coping mechanisms. Uh, I mean, coach is strong, and I try not to put too much on her because she has a lot of people to deal with. But knowing that she's there, that that in and of itself is a perfect step. Is a good step forward. Having a team around and having people like JoJo and Nefty and Island and Fuji. I'm gonna forget names, guys. I'm sorry. Anna, Junior,
Mo,
Mo. Was that the last one?
Jalisa, Jalisa.
Delisa. Yes, having the team around, like, and being able to put things that I'm dealing with on them as well. I think as human beings, like we're called to community. We are. And as much
Mm-hmm.
as as much as we grow up and continue to live in an individualistic society, like we are called to community. And the problem with, how things are going now is we're so used to being alone. Even when we get into these types of communities, we don't know how to adequately navigate them. And that goes for myself too. And that's part of the reason why the text message I sent the group today is why I sent it to them, because I'm like I'm trying to learn how to do better and be better at this. And this group has done a lot for me, more than I can really even put into words. And so I need to be able to not only bring myself, but or not only give, but also receive. So for the young men out there, like it's hard. Nobody, I don't want anyone to let you think it's not hard. It's hard. And a lot of the times people are asking you not to feel. A lot of the time people are asking you to just be okay. A lot of the time people are just asking you to give. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to end there. You should be able to receive. And you should be able to express yourself. You should be able to be happy. And those things are and not only important, but you deserve them. But you got to remember that when you open a door, you can walk through it on both sides. So you have to be ready to receive. You can't just say it, you have to be ready to receive. So,
And live it. Like you're a person that's setting the example by living it. And one of the things that I tell you guys is be open, because I'm very open. Like I can't tell you to be vulnerable if I'm not. if I always try to pretend that I'm always the strong person, like I'm not. And so I share that vulnerability with you guys because the audacity for me to tell you guys to be open and I'm not. So I also have to set the example. And so with just a few minutes left, BJ, can you share though can you give any advice or share for those that have been in a situation or maybe a funk of like, I don't know what to do with my life next. Like, I don't see any hope. I've gained all this weight. I'm not really into weightlifting. I don't really like the gym. Um, and your experience when I took you to the bro gym and what it like what did you learn from it and what is it that you would like to share for anyone that that was you about 6 months ago?
At the end of the day, everything is a process. Everything is a process. Nothing happens overnight. And I know that that sucks to hear because I'm the type of person who wants to see immediate results. And even now, as I sit where I am today, I don't even really see the results of the things that I've been doing for the past 3 months. But I just know that everything is a process. I know that if you doing something for with a means to an end, if you're like, I'm going to do this for 6 weeks or 8 months or whatever the case may be, you're there's a good chance that you're going to have to fail and have to restart. You have to really set yourself up for a lifestyle change, whatever that may look like for you, whatever that may look like for you. For me, it meant food prepping, it meant eating better, it meant making better choices with what I put in my body. But for you, it may mean just going outside for a walk every day or making sure you're getting out of your house and making sure that you're, loving yourself, spending some time with yourself. But like I said, everything is a process. It's one day at a time. It's one step at a time. You have to realize that you have bad days, you have good days, you have neutral days, you have days where you feel like you're not doing anything, and you have days where you feel like you're doing a lot. And at the end of those days, it's not so much what you did within them. It's about how you're reflecting and what you're taking away at the end of them. So I guess my final words is just going to be, if I can do it, you can do it. And at the end of it all, your process is going to look different than anybody else's process out there. So just make sure that you are staying true to yourself and really asking yourself, where do I want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now?
And is it worth it?
It's always worth it. It is always worth it. Whenever you're working on yourself, it's always worth it.
Thank you, BJ, so much for sharing your story. I know someone needs to hear it. And thank you guys. And can you give your Instagram real quick?
Yeah, my Instagram is BJ Oswagu, BJ OSUAGWU. It's the same on Instagram and TikTok.